Hi, and welcome to the second episode of The Creative Woman Within. I'm Tracy Jones, an artist from Lincolnshire, and I'm passionate about sharing my story. Not only my story, but also I'll be sharing the stories of other amazing women who have tapped into their creative side to either overcome health conditions or just to really find themselves in life. So today I really want to talk about something that opened up a couple of years ago, really, for me. I'd already started my journey with the art, with the paintings, with the drawings, but this has taken me on a whole new direction, a whole new level of exploring the creativity, but also in a way that's helped me to understand who I really am. And you would think at the age of 53, I would know that by now. But I think there's probably very few of us that really can, hand on heart, sort of sit back and go, yeah, I really know who I am. I really understand who I am, why I do things the way I do, how I live my life, why I live my life the way I do. And something that I came across and actually really started feeling into has helped me explore that so much more. And the more and more I've done it, the more I've got to know the true me, not the me that shows up for everybody else, not the me that other people see, but the true me. And it all started with something that I've called art journaling. So, well, I've actually called mine vision art journaling. This was the whole idea behind the art journaling that I do, because I had a vision board on my wall for some time, as opposed many people do. You create the vision boards of the wonderful lives that we want to be living, and it always seems to be the end goal. So it's the beautiful house, it's the holidays, it's the cars, it's all of those quite materialistic things. And it has sat on my wall for quite some time. And I'd look at it, but actually I'd lost connection with it. It just became a picture on my wall that really meant nothing to me because it just seemed so far off, and how I was going to get there just eluded me. And it was like it was miles away from where I was. So I felt I needed something that was going to help me to bridge those gaps and just take the small steps along the way. And this is where the art journaling has really sort of kind of blown my mind, because it makes you realize how much we try and rush through life to get to the end goal. And it's the same in the same way as creating a drawing, a painting, a picture, anything like that. Because I know when I'm teaching my workshops, I show people the finished piece that we're going to be creating, and the first marks go down, and people just instantly expect it to look like the finished piece. And I always say, creating artwork is a bit like building a house. You have to get the foundations down. The foundations are never going to be, excuse me, never going to be pretty, but they're probably the most important part of creating. And it's the same in life. Those foundations we have to lay down when we're learning new skills, when we're teaching ourselves things, and when we're going through life. Every step of our journey is so important, but we forget to actually enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, because we're so fixed on the final destination or the final piece that we're creating. But what happens when you get there? What then? So, the learning takes place in the messy stages, in the unknown stages, in the experimental stages. And I think that is truly the most beautiful part. And the art journaling has really helped me slow down and to appreciate that. So, where the art journaling started for me, I wanted to create something that I could share with other people. And we went away for a 10-day break over to the Isle of Mull. If you've never been, it's absolutely stunning. Just loved it. It's just so beautiful. It's peaceful. It's like nowhere I've ever been before. It was just like you were just totally removed from the whole world and just sat on this beautiful island. And it was just incredible. So my idea was I wanted to sort of do some sketching while I was there, do some painting. So I did. I sat by the locks and I sketched and I painted, drew the things that inspired me, made notes to come back and be able to put my art journal together. But something really strange happened while I was there. Everywhere that we went, every time I sat down to create, or places that we visited, something in there would remind me of my granddad. Now, I was very close to my granddad, and as a little girl, I used to spend hours and hours and hours in his shed with him. He had a big workshop and a little shed, and we would spend hours in there together. And he taught me how to be creative. He taught me, we made gnomes together, the plaster cast gnomes, we painted them. He let me do woodwork. We built bird boxes together and I painted decorations on the bird boxes. He taught me how to play the penny whistle. He taught me how to make paper flowers. So many different creative elements he shared with me when I was very, very tiny. And it was all about enjoying the process, you know, taking a piece of wood, seeing what I could do with it, seeing what I could make and create. And I absolutely loved it. And I love that time with him. And we actually lost him 28 years ago. It'll be 29 coming up this year. But everywhere I went on the Isle of Mull, there was something that made me think he was there. And it could have been the smallest thing to something that was really, wow, that is Grandad, very much so. So I kept making a note of all of these things and sketching the things and really feeling into them to come back to put in my journal. So when I came back, my journal took on a whole different level for me. It was such a deep connection and so much more than just creating images and pictures and sketches and memories. It was so much more than that. But it almost felt like my granddad was saying to me, do you know what? I know what you've been through and now you're on the right track and I'm here with you. And that was just so comforting to know. So that's kind of where the art journaling started for me. But I wanted to take it to that next level. As I said, I'd had a vision board on my wall. I'd lost connection with it. And from finishing my work as a teacher after being diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2017, I kind of had to rebuild my whole identity because I kind of lost who I was. You know, I was no longer able to work full time. My health was really, really poor. And I kind of lost my sense of identity. My children had grown up, you know, I was a wife, but I wasn't able to contribute because of my health. So it was kind of a vicious circle. And discovering the art, as I said in episode 1, my mother-in-law gave me a canvas and that just reignited my desire to be creative. But not only that, it gave me that insight that slowing down and stopping and making time for me, making time for being creative was just something that was so vitally important that I'd never ever really tapped into. But there's something, a little spark was created for me in that moment. And every step of the way, it's almost like that spark has just grown and got bigger and bigger. So when it came to wanting to take the next step with the vision board and thinking, how can I bring it together so it's on a deeper level, a more manageable level, a level that I'm working towards every day, I kind of thought about fusing the two together. So the vision board and the art journaling. So I came to start creating something called a vision art journaling. And this was like my story in a book, my story in a creative way in a journal. So not very much writing at all, but by creating pages where when I created them, I chose colour palettes, I chose images, the time I spent creating, the music I listened to while I was creating, the energy I was in when I was creating. Every time I look at those pages, it brings back those feelings. And I think our energy and feelings are so, so important. And most people don't really tap into that. And I think we go through life on a very superficial level, not realizing actually how powerful the energy inside us and the emotions that are attached to that are responsible for helping us not only live the lives we're living, but also create the lives we want to be living. So it's opened up a whole new world for me. I'm absolutely fascinated with quantum physics. It just really blows my mind. But when you tap into it, people think it's really complicated. It's not. It's very, very simple, and it's all based around energy. And this is kind of what I've wanted to try and get into my journaling. not on a complicated level, but on a very simple human level. So I decided to sit back and just create some pages. And one page that I want to share with you today was so, so powerful for me. And it's something that when I look back, I wish I'd done it sooner, because it highlighted in such a visual way why I'd got poorly in the first place. But it also then highlighted for me how my thinking had shifted, how my attitude to life has shifted, and how my approach to how I'm living has shifted massively over the last few years. So I'm going to share that with you now. So I created a page. This was a retrospective page. So I created it in, I think it was last year that I created this page, thinking back to how I was living my life in 2016, the year before I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And it was something that somebody had said to me about how we show up in life in 3 different ways. So we show up how we're showing up. We show up how other people expect us to show up. And we show up how we want to be showing up. Now, if everything is in balance and if we are living our true, authentic lives, all of those 3 things should merge together quite beautifully. But when I looked at mine, I realised how fragmented it all was. And I decided to colour code it. So I went with primary colours, and I just wanted to make it very, very visual to show just how I was showing up. So I'm just going to turn this around. So this is my journal. My journal is huge. You can see this now. This was from last year and the year before. So this is the page I created. So you can see I've got my primary colours. I've got my blue, my red and my yellow here. Now where I've got the secondary colours, so where, you know, I've got the beautiful blend of the purple here, this is showing where the 2 merge. But look where it's coming from. So this is how other people were expecting me to show up. This is how I was showing up, and this is how I wanted to be showing up. Just notice how little orange, or I don't think there's any orange in there. No, there's no orange in there at all. So I wasn't showing up at all how I wanted to be showing up in my life. I was showing up for everybody else. And this is how I felt. I found this piece of material, and I looked at it, and it kind of like summed up exactly how I was feeling at that time. It was very empty, like a shadow of myself. So you can see that little shadow in there. No actual form, just very vague, just there. The background colours I chose were very bland, very, very beige, very just there, very, well, that's how I was feeling. So I'll just put this down because it's getting really heavy. But the way I was showing up in life, I was working 70+ hours every week. But other people saw me as hardworking. I was making sure everybody else's needs were met in front of my own. And people saw me as always being there for others. I was never switching off, and I couldn't say no without feeling guilty. So people would always come to me because they know I would always say yes. I didn't like asking for help. I just tried to get on with things myself. And people saw that as me being independent. And, you know, you can see how those things start merging, but people see it in a completely different way to how I was showing up and how I was seeing things. And it became, that's how I was living. And over time, I could see now that's why my body stopped and said, no more. You can't do this anymore. You have to start being authentic to you. You cannot keep saying yes to everything when you've got no energy left to give. You know, they always say, don't you can't pour from an empty cup. And it's like they say, you know, when you're on a plane, if the oxygen mask drops, you put yours on first. Don't go putting everybody else's on, put yours on first. And I realized I wasn't doing any of that. I was just showing up for everybody else to make sure everybody else around me in life was happy, healthy, and everything was done that they wanted doing, whether it was work, home, family, whatever, and or friends. And you know, I forgot myself. I really truly forgot about myself. And part of it, I think I thought I wasn't deserving of me giving my time to me. You know, there was only so much time to give, and I just squeezed in what little was left for me at the end. But ultimately, that over time will start to build up and build and have a detrimental effect on our health, who we are, how we're feeling, how we're showing up, our relationships, absolutely everything. So to create this visual page was so powerful, and it made me really emotional to see. I feel emotional now. It made me so emotional to actually sit and look at this thinking, wow, what was I doing? But when you're in that cycle, you just don't see it. We don't realize because we just get caught up, we're blinkered, and it's just like, yeah, just carry on, because that's what we've always done. Now, I'll just read you out. This is how the real me wanted to be showing up in all of this. I wanted freedom and flexibility. I wanted working hours that suited, non-negotiable self-care, time for me, and only saying yes if it felt right. I wanted to be happy and healthy and find and follow my passions that lit me up and felt fulfilled by, and that I am enough. I wanted deep connections in all my relationships, but I'd got so little time. Everything felt so superficial, like I was just giving tiny bits to everybody, never really feeling like I'd given everything to everything or everybody, because there wasn't enough of me to give. And teaching, those of you that have been in the profession or know somebody that has, it's one of those professions that you know, when you get poorly, which inevitably you do, working with small children, you always pick everything up going. You know, you keep going. So either you don't take time off work, or if you do take time off, you feel guilty, so you go back too early, and you never get built back up. So each time you're just getting that little bit lower, that little bit lower, that little bit lower, not realizing, and that new level becomes your new normal health, until it becomes to the point where it's like you can't function anymore, which is exactly what happened to me. So I created that page, and it was so powerful. It just really hit me. And what hit me even more was because I created it after it had all happened, and I could sit back and I could reflect and I could look on it, and I was able to create a page from then. So this was from last year, of how my life had changed and how I was actually living my life. So I'm going to share that with you now. Okay, can you see the difference? You could see how the colours just blend right the way through. This is how I was feeling: vibrant, free, alive. And it was like I'd always related to the butterfly. For those years, first years when I was poorly, I felt like I was in a cocoon, really not knowing what was out there, what I was going to do, but it was safe and it was comfortable and it was a space to heal. Now I found my wings, and the colours in there were just so vibrant, and it's a completely different energy. So this was from 2023, so it's almost 2 years ago now. Excuse me. But how I was showing up, I'd become self-aware, and I was spiritually me. For the first time in 52 years, it was at that point, I was creative, I was following my passions, happy, healthy, working hours that suit, with flexibility and freedom, loving deep relationships, non-negotiable self-care, taking risks and trying new experiences, saying yes to what lights me up, saying no without guilt, building a successful business and career. So people then were seeing me as being successful, creative, happy, inspirational, a good friend, wife, mum, daughter, adventurous, flexible, spiritual, at peace, content, loving life, soulful, and following my passions. So how I want to be showing up, like financial freedom, following my passions, feeling at peace, happy, travel to new places, exploring new experiences, free and flexible work-life balance, being my true spiritual self. So can you see how all of those things are beautifully interlinked together? Now, it's not been an easy journey to get there by any means, but actually by creating pages in my journal which really focus on specific areas of my life, day in, day out. So it's not a diary, it's more than that. It's about, you know, using creativity to really explore things, really explore emotions and things like that. Um, but it's pages that I can go back to, and every time I turn a page, I know the energy behind it. So I just wanted to show you as well. So on top of the page I created from 2016, that was part of my journey that had to be in my journal. It's so important. It was where I came from, it's where I started, and it's really important to have that in there. But it's not a page I wanted to see every time I looked in my journal, and it's not an energy I wanted to feel every time I open the book, because you feel it as soon as you look at it. So I created this page to go on top, a beautiful, very tactile page, very textured. Clock on here to show the passing of time. But also on here, I've written, never forget where you were and be proud of just how far you've come. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. And I've also put on here, believe in yourself, go where your heart takes you, and be open to whatever comes next. And those are really important. And I can feel the energy of that. I feel really emotional reading those now, because it has been such a journey. And, you know, I think we forget sometimes, we're quite hard on ourselves. We forget how far we've come. You know, if we've been through a challenge in life, we do forget what it was like and when we get on the other side of it. But it's so good to just to step back and, you know, be proud of yourself and celebrate, and just give yourself a massive pat on the back sometimes, and really feel into what you've learned on that journey. And again, this is why the art journaling has really brought that, it's brought it into one space where I can do that. My very first art journal, the really thick one I've just shown you that I have in front of me, it's so powerful. It's got pages in there that I've really reflected on things and made notes. And do you know what? You don't have to make notes. If you're frightened about writing things down, you don't want other people to see it, don't worry. I've got secret pages in here, secret pockets, where you can write things, you can tuck them in, you can hide them, but you know they're there. So when you turn to those pages, you feel the energy, you know what's in there, you know how far you've come, you know how proud you are of yourself. You know, you don't have to write it all over the pages. You can if you want. You know, that's wonderful, but you don't have to. So, you know, there's so many creative elements to creating a journal. I just want to share this one with you as well. This is one that I shared in a group. I know it's written backwards on here, it's reversed it all. But this was just the background for this before we did anything, was a way of just really switching off, very mindful art, just sitting and creating shapes and colours and just smooth fluid movements where you don't have to think, you can just let go, release, and just feel into the shapes. And then we created the little circles here, which reflected the things that light us up in life, our passions. So I've got this one here, is looking up at the trees, walking in the woods. I absolutely love stars, absolutely fascinated by the night sky, the stars, the moon cycles, everything like that. Got one which is like the sea. Absolutely love being by the sea. It's my happy place, standing on the beach, listening to the sea, sand between my toes. But then gone in and just written what it means, what those passions are. Because I think sometimes we don't really allow ourselves to sort of think about, you know, what are our passions? What are the things that light us up in life? We get so busy with all of the things that we should be doing. I hate that word. You know, it makes it feel, I don't know, it's got heavy energy to it. It's not something light that lights us up. It's like a sense of obligation that we have to be doing those things. Yeah, how many times in the past have I said I should be doing the ironing instead of doing this? I'll let you into a secret. I have not ironed for nearly 8 years now, and I don't intend to start now. I've got far more creative things I would rather be doing, that I just think, you know, it's what I want to be doing, not what I should be doing, what I want to be doing. Life's too short. So I just think, really take a moment out. If you take something away from this episode this morning, just have a few minutes, sit back, reflect. Okay, Have a think about the way that you are showing up in life. You know, are you showing up for you? Are you doing all the things that light you up? And if you're not quite sure what lights you up, go back, have a think about your passions. Have a think about if you could do anything in life or live the life you truly wanted to be living, what would those passions be? What would the passions be that you follow? You know, what things make your soul sing? And it doesn't have to be something massive. It can be something really simple. But don't worry about it. You know, just go with what you feel and just make a list, or get your paints out and just create just something that represents that feeling and that passion that you've got. And you don't have to be artistic to do it. You really don't. You know, just keep it nice and simple, like I've done here. You know, very simple colours that just represent, very simple. And I think sometimes this is what can put people off with being creative and thinking, I'm no good at art, I can't do it. And again, this is why the journaling is just so beautiful, because it's a space where you can experiment and explore with different media, with texture, colour, shape and form, words, so many different ways that you can explore. And it's in a book, it's a safe place to explain. It's not going to be up on the wall, you don't have to show it to anybody, but you can then follow your journey and look back and just see how much you've moved on through being creative. So I just want to share another couple of pages with you here. So this year, like I said, I'm very much into universal energy, numerology, all of those kinds of things. So 2024 has been an 8 year, which has been all about balance. So when you add the numbers in 2024, 2 plus 2 is 4 plus the 4 is 8. The 8 number is all about balance, and that's what this year has been all about. So there's been times when it's been a bit of a roller coaster. So sometimes we've had the highs, sometimes we've had the lows, but it's all about coming back to balance. So I created a page which I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that, because sometimes when we're feeling out of balance, it's very difficult to sort of bring ourselves back. And this page has been fantastic for that. So I created a page which has got our beautiful number 8 on here, which opens out. Okay. And in here, I've got little spaces, little pockets to write notes on. I've got little things here. This was off a box of tea bags, but again, it's a yoga pose, all about balance. And in here, I've got little notes. So when I felt out of balance, I've written it in there, but I've gone back and written down what I've done to get myself back into balance. And it's really helped by focusing on that and on my energy there. So again, this was a page I shared in my free journaling group, which I'll share the link to actually in the comments underneath. So look at the beautiful colours on here. This was a watercolour technique I taught and shared on my free group. And it was just such a beautiful page to create. But inside, we have little pockets in here. Now, these are all my values. So you can write down what your values are in life. So like mine was flow, passion, freedom. I've got all of them written down in here. Self-healing, lots and lots of values in here. Every now and then I'll go in and just think, okay, I just want to perhaps once a month just go in and think, okay, am I living by my values? Are the things I'm doing, the things I'm saying yes to, the things that are lighting me up? Or am I falling back into those old patterns where I'm just saying yes to please people? And it just brings you back to yourself and helps you to focus, so it keeps you on track. And yes, it can look time consuming, but actually these pages can be created in very short spaces of time. But to take that time out just to explore your creativity, to explore new techniques, to explore new media, and this actually by creating and using media in different ways that I wouldn't normally do on paintings or drawings or pictures, I've taken in a different way and experimented so much more, and it's then having a knock-on effect with my other artwork, which I'm loving. So it really broadens and expands your creative sides and opens up so many possibilities that you've perhaps not thought of before. So I really just wanted to come on and share that with you in this month's episode, because I think coming towards the end of the year, you know, it's a time when January is generally a time for making New Year's resolutions. And we make those New Year's resolutions, we either keep them in our head, we write them down somewhere, put them where we can see them. What happens? A couple of weeks and they're gone, they're forgotten about, you know, and again, they'll be sat there and then they'll come around next year. So whether it's like, I want to lose weight, how many years has it been? The same resolutions come up time and time again, yet nothing's happened with it because we put it up there and we don't really tap into or focus on how we're going to achieve that. It's that big goal with no stepping stones to get there. So actually, by starting to create a journal of whatever form you want to, or a diary, however you want to do it, is a really powerful way of taking responsibility for your life, really taking charge of how you want to be living your life and showing up, exploring your creativity while you're doing it, and the energy and the emotions that you feel through the colours and the textures and the shapes and forms that you use in your pages. It really helps to elevate the energy behind then starting to put something into practice. So if there's something you want to do, by creating it physically in a physical form on a page, it adds the energy to actually making it happen. So if you're intrigued, if you'd love to know more about art journaling, I would absolutely love to share it with you. And I'd love you to come and join my free group, but I also have a membership which is called the Vision Art Journaling Lounge, and it is an absolutely beautiful space. So in there we'll have a page a month that we will create together, and I will teach 3 sessions a week, so 3 sessions a month, sorry. I will share with you the different ways of creating pages or elements to the pages. So for example, when I did this one, I showed how to create the different stages to create these beautiful pieces here, and then how to assemble the pages. So how to create the opening parts, the pockets, the sliding parts. There's all sorts of different mechanisms we can use in there. So you'll learn so much. But then we also have a Zoom call once a month where we can all get together and chat about the pages, but also what the pages mean to us, what they're bringing to us, and going back to pages, you know, how we're using them, how we're working with them. And it's just such a beautiful way of focusing and, you know, keeping our lives on track. And not only that, but being flexible and seeing where it takes us, enjoying the journey, enjoying the process, opening to explore and experiment, not only with the art, but then with our own lives, thinking, okay, well, I wanted to go down that road, but actually, maybe that one's opened up. Let's try that one instead. Let's see where that takes us. And just having the bravery and the courage to do it. So I will put the links in the group, in the comments below. And if you would love to come and join me, please do, because it's an absolutely beautiful space. And once you get into the art journaling, I know you will be absolutely hooked, as I was. But it is so much more than just a journal, so much more than just learning about the techniques and the painting techniques, the drawing techniques. But what a beautiful place to start your art journey, particularly if you're not very confident with art, but you want to start tapping into it a little bit. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm sorry I've been really croaky today. I think it's just the remnants of a bit of a cold. So I can't wait to see you very, very soon. Have a wonderful Christmas, a very happy New Year, and I would love you to join me in January. Take care, and I'll see you very soon.